The International Council on Development and Learning has short courses coming up, along with our certificate courses at icdl.com/courses. I will be offering my course DIR 402 Be Sure, Supporting, Understanding, and Respecting the Expectations of Parents for Practitioners, live online Wednesday, June 19th. Check out the times in your time zone at icdl.com/courses. You're listening to Affect Autism, where affect is the #1 tool we use in supporting child development through playful interactions. Welcome to the We Chose Play podcast from Affect Autism. I am Daria Brown. Today I'm thrilled to have back Marla Cable, the Assistant Director of the Resource and Training Centre at Giant Steps in Montreal, Quebec, a developmental approach, individualized private school in the public interest, serving students aged 4 to 21 with an autism diagnosis. They have both English and French instruction, and students are grouped by age clusters. We heard about the school just over a year ago on our podcast, but they have now moved into their new facility, and Marla is here to tell us all about the new center, which is just not a school anymore. Welcome, Marla.
Exactly. Thank you. Lovely to see you again.
So I'm going to pull up some of the pictures that you have shared with me. So anyone who's listening on audio, you can always go to the YouTube link at the blog post to see the pictures that we're sharing of the brand new center.
Sure. So this is an overall shot of our new center. So we've occupied the center since August of just last year, so just under a year. It's been a project in the making for over 5 years of us reflecting of what we want to do, how we wanted to expand and grow. So we're in what's considered the Angus area of Montreal, which is in the Rosemont neighborhood. It's a neighborhood that's very pro-inclusion. So we were really welcomed with open arms and everything. So like you said, we're no longer just a school. So Giant Steps has been around for about over 40 years. We started really as a school and now we've much more grown. So in this center, we do have the school. We also have our resource and training center. We've brought back our adult education with us. So they're in here with us. And we've also opened up a research pillar as well.
Which we heard all about in the first podcast, but now to see it in fruition, it must just be such an incredible experience to finally have moved in.
Yeah, it's really, it's been wonderful. Yeah. Just having air conditioning has been wonderful.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah. People think of Montreal, they think of cold winter, but in the summer it gets hot.
Very hot, yes. So maybe one thing to clarify, the private school and the public interest. So yes, we're a private school, but we're publicly funded by the Minister of Education. So there is no tuition fee for parents to send their children to our school.
Okay, and I will say that we've got a few pictures here of some other views of the school. So you see a bit more of the neighborhood here, lots of construction underway. It was fabulous getting a tour of the center. Thank you for that, Marla, when I was in Montreal visiting.
You're welcome.
It had lots of snow, so I didn't get to see the splash pad in action, but here is the backyard. Look at this incredible yard for students. It must just be amazing to have not only outdoor space where they can run around and stuff, but all of these cool equipment pieces and everything too.
Yeah, we see the kids are occupied. They're busy doing things now, whereas maybe in the old building there was a little bit more pacing and just being off in a corner. But now there's so much more for them to do and explore. So it's really lovely to see them outside in the playground.
And here's another view of that playground. It looks like there's some kind of gardening thing going on here. Is that part of, do the students get involved with that? Or will
Yeah,
they?
so they can do the gardening on the right-hand side there. It's actually sort of all different music instruments. So there's an xylophone and chimes and drums and all sorts of things they can play with. And then the stairs on the left, they lead up to a slide going down. And then we have all sorts of different climbing structures and swings and areas where they can go to. I don't think in the pictures it shows, but on the back fence, we actually have like sensory boards all along there too. And a communication, a core board as well. So that if they need to communicate with us, they can use the icons. Oh, this is our lovely splash pad. Aren't we lucky?
So has anyone been able to use it yet?
Not yet, because we moved in August, things were still in construction a little bit. So it's going to be once the warmer weather comes with us, we're going to be able to bring that back out, and I'm sure the kids are going to have a blast.
That's amazing. So I'm not sure if this is what you just meant on the back wall.
No,
Is
actually,
this
this is
something
an
else?
outdoor classroom.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's a whole philosophy about having classes outside. So there's a blackboard there with the logs and the rocks for seated, so the teachers can take their class outside and do the lesson out there. So
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, I'm just going to continue going through the pictures here and talk about what we're seeing.
sure. So
Yep.
this is an example of one of our classrooms. So this one isn't habited. So we have the potential of having 15 classrooms. We have 11 open right now. We're opening a 12th next year. And the other 3 classrooms we keep sort of for overflow a little bit. So you can see that, there's a little nice reading nook that's in the wall in the very back there, large windows to really use natural lighting. This building doesn't have any fluorescent lighting because we know that can be often challenging for autistic individuals. So it's all LED lighting, but because of all the large windows, we can really lower the intensity of our lights greatly. So each classroom is basically looks very similar. All the cabinetry is built in, so we can reduce all that visual stimulus as well. So.
Wow, it's so modern looking and like you said, so bright with the big windows. Incredible storage space
Mhm.
that not only gets rid of the cluttered look, but also just an incredible place, like enough room for everything that you would need as a teacher. So that's great.
Exactly. Yeah.
So is this also a classroom?
Yeah, so that's another example of a classroom as well from a different angle.
And I think you mentioned that these are all smart boards.
They are. So each classroom and each department has a smart board.
And then I noticed on the wall here, you have some kind of little thing. Is this like, what is this part?
So that's a communication device. So it's kind of like a, um, you know, a newer version of a PA system and everything. So that's the way that they can communicate with departments or floors or specific people and everything.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, we're continuing on. It looks like an lots of student artwork, the art room.
Yeah, yeah. So this is where the kids go for art class. So I would say it's one of our most colorful rooms in the building. So all of our students from the school pillar, they all go to art class.
Nice. Wow, this is a incredible looking sensory gym.
Yeah, so this is our large occupational therapy room. So this is our big gross motor room. They have another room that's somewhat similar to this, but on a much smaller scale. So for kids who may get a little bit overwhelmed by the grandiosa of this room, they can go into a smaller sensory room, which is kind of in the back of the occupational therapy wing.
So let's remind the listeners or anyone who may not have heard the podcast last year, the service, it's not just school. There's services and you have in-house occupational therapy and speech and language therapy.
Yeah, so we really recognize that we want to teach and educate and support our students, like the whole student, so not just academics. So we make sure that we have an occupational therapy team, we have our SLP team, we have computer class, we have social skills class, we have the art class, we have a gym class. So we're really looking at the whole person and making sure that we're supporting the individual so that they're ready to go once they move into adulthood. So this is a picture of music therapy.
Now, I know that when you were giving me the tour, you were explaining that it's not music lessons and you were describing some of the things that they get at with music therapy.
Sure. Yeah. So music class would be you're learning to play an instrument or to sing or something, where music therapy is really your relationship to music. There's a lot of sequencing and patterning in music, which sort of leads to the basis of math skills. Music therapy also touches on our emotions, so emotional regulation. So it's working on all of those things. So at Giant Steps, a lot of the therapies sort of combine together and cross over so that we're all working for the betterment of each student and everything.
Nice. And I will put links to a couple of the podcasts I have done on music therapy in the past if
Sure.
people want to look into that. And
So
here's
this
a
is
room of
our
computers.
computer lab. So our students from the school will go into computer class. So here, like we talked about in the last podcast, it's not only learning how to use a computer, what is your relationship to technology too? How do you navigate on the internet? How do you keep yourself safe? We're also looking at finding different programming to support students in their IEP goals, so their objectives or academic objectives. But we're also looking at what are you interested in? What do you like? And how can we explore that through technology to help you sort of blossom in your interest?
Awesome. Now, this really surprised me when I got the tour of the school. You have not just one, but at least two, like industrial kitchens.
Yeah. So on the main floor, we have a kitchen that the school uses to learn cooking skills. And we know that when we're cooking, we're learning math skills, right? With all the fractions and measuring everything. We're learning language arts by reading a recipe, and we're learning all of those life skills activities as well. This is a photo from our industrial kitchen. So this is in our adult pillar for our adults over 21. And it's to replicate a kitchen that we would see in a restaurant. We have several partnerships with different restaurants. So our hope is that our adults will come in this kitchen to learn the skill sets, and then hopefully they can go off and do internships and getting jobs in different kitchens based on the skills that they've managed to learn here.
So I know that you have a partnership with Saint Hubert, the chicken restaurant chain. How does that work with the partnership? Do they come in to recruit students? Do you bring students to them for internships? How long are they doing that for? And then what is the hiring process like?
Sure. So Saint Hubert, it started. So to backtrack a little bit, it's been a whole partnership with them and everything. In the beginning, it was more about the client experience in the restaurant. So through our resource and training center, we were really helping and supporting them, making sure that the restaurants are welcoming and are inclusive to all individuals so that they can go to a restaurant. So there we went through and did sort of an audit of the restaurants and said, maybe the music needs to be a little bit lower, maybe the lighting a little bit stronger, or maybe a little softer here and more natural lighting here. We helped and support them make sensory bags and communication boards so that they can lend them out to people coming to the restaurant. They also did sort of sensory friendly periods where on Sundays an early dinner period was sort of a sensory friendly so that the staff knew that this is when maybe families were more prone to coming into the restaurant. We've provided training for the management staff, and we created online videos that they can use for their personnel to learn a little bit more about autism and how they can support autistic individuals, children, adults, in the restaurant. So that was the big part. Now that we're working with them to do sort of hiring of autistic individuals. So what does that mean? How does that look like? How can you support an autistic individual in the workforce from the get-go, from the interview process through training, and then how do you continue to support the individual as they're working in your kitchens enterprise?
How do you find the reception of this? Are they open to it? Are they willing? Are they eager?
No, they've been really great partners and have been really on board with all the steps that we've been doing with them. So it's been a pleasure to work with them.
And this might be, well, here, we'll go next. We have a grocery store picture as well that you have in the school, but I just maybe a little pause to just say that I think Montreal has been deemed one of the most inclusive, friendly cities for autistics because of all of these different partnerships that you have. Do you want to say anything about that?
Well, we worked with Laval and they sort of named themselves the first city within Quebec of being inclusive. But for sure, we've been doing a lot of work with Montreal and everything. And Giant Steps is very open to working with anyone who wants to become more inclusive. So like in the beginning of my career in the resource center, it was more about just sensitizing people to autism, but now it's much more than that. It's making sure that they are fully inclusive, and you know, a lot of organizations are coming forward with us. So this is what we call our mini maxis. So other people in other provinces would know it as Provigo or Loblaws. So we've been working with them for a very long time, where we're helping autistic adults learn the skill sets to work in Loblaws, whether it's, you know, managing the stocking of the items or the back warehouse. We actually have a functioning cash register. You can see it across the way, so they can learn how to do the whole cashier process. And, you know, and working with Loblaws across Canada, I think they've hired up just over 200 autistic individuals across Canada. So that's a huge success. And when we say that they've hired autistic individuals, it's with regular pay and regular benefits, which is what we're really pushing the organizations to do, because if they're able to do the work, why not pay them, you know, the same as everyone else? So.
And so what I hear you saying is that you've been at Giant Steps for a number of years and you've noticed this trend from having to really educate people on how to make sure that you're accepting of autistic people to really embracing inclusion.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're showing a picture of the new gym facility.
Yeah, so this is our gym slash event room. So Giant Steps in its 40 years has never had a gym. So we're very excited to have a gym, and that was kind of the main reason of building this new center. But we can use the gym for events as well. So this was set up for event. You know, we have all the facilities so that we could do banquets. We have tables and chairs and all that kind of stuff. So there's a kitchen nearby. So if someone want to cater event, they can do that as well.
That's great. What events have you hosted in the first year? Like, have you been starting to host some events?
Sure. Well, at the beginning, it was a lot of inaugurational events. So we had the Premier of Quebec come to do a big celebration of the new center and everything. We've had a couple of conferences. A couple of people from the outside have rented out the room for parties or events as well.
And I imagine the kids absolutely love running around in this gym.
And to have a gym teacher who is actually able to, you know, help and support them in their physical education. Yeah.
Excellent. And the Resource and Training Center, that's your area.
It is. So this is the Resource and Training Center. So we talked about it in the first podcast, but maybe it merits sort of revisiting a little bit the Resource and Training Center. So my mandate is really to help and support organizations, individuals, businesses, sort of on the outside of Giant Steps. So yeah, I help the center, but my mission is more to help those on the outside. So we do have a lending library. So we have lots of different books and teaching materials. So anyone from a school to a parent can come and borrow our items, or they can come just to search for ideas. If they need help and support creating visuals or social stories or anything like that, we can help and support them as well. We do offer workshops, conferences, trainings. Either we'll organize them and invite the public to attend, or a group can contact us directly and say, can you provide a training for our group on XYZ? And we can do that for them as well. We also offer consultations, so a daycare school that have kind of tried all their tricks in order to help support a child and they just need a little bit more help. They can hire us and we'll go in and observe and help the team find strategies to better help support that child in that environment.
And is that just for schools in the province of Quebec?
Consultation, I mean, we're open to doing things outside of Quebec. We have helped some groups. So yeah, we're here to help. We want to spread our knowledge and help in any way we can and everything. So yeah.
Now, I know that when I visited, there was a screen when you enter this resource center, and it was a slideshow of different events. So there was a Montreal Canadiens hockey game, and there was some other things. How do those events work? Are they sort of events planned for the students, or are they events that have nothing to do with the school and you just bring the students there, or how does that work?
Good question. So though that's the other big part of the resource and training center is we want to help different organizations. We actually have a partnership with the Montreal Canadians and the Bell Center here in Montreal. So they are exploring ways in which they can become more inclusive. So we've helped them create communication boards and sensory bags that they can loan out during games. We've gone in and trained all of the heads of the departments so they can help their workers understand autism and how they can support autistic individuals coming to the game. And then sort of as an exchange, they have given us tickets for some of our families to go and watch a game on International Autism Day. This year, they actually provided a skate day where students could go and skate on the ice with the mascot Yuppie and everything. So that was kind of cool as well. So those are like big projects that we do with different organizations. So, I think we're pretty active. We do a project with the Montreal Trudeau Airport where families go through the whole process of flying to learn about what areas their child or the autistic individual may have a harder time dealing with so they can be better prepared for the actual travel date. But yeah, like we have another great project that we're really proud of. We work with the Montreal Police Force, and the new police chief for Montreal brought a program that he used to have when he was a police chief on the South Shore. So it's a 5-week immersion program where he requires all of his new recruits to do this immersion program before they actually start working on the streets. So they're going into a whole bunch of different organizations to learn about all sorts of differences, all about, vulnerable people and everything, so that they can be better skilled and knowledgeable about how to support all sorts of, differences in the community and everything. So most of the recruits come and spend a day with us here at Giant Steps to learn about autism. So I've heard nothing but great things from the recruits. They feel that they're really well, taught about different strategies and everything. We were actually just on the news about that, and one of the officers was saying that's what he heard back from their recruits, that they actually were in interventions that involved autistic people, and all of a sudden they felt really empowered that they kind of had these tools and strategies that they could use to help and support the person. So
That's excellent. Yep.
yeah.
So you go from being a school for almost 40 years or about 40 years, now you're into this amazing center that I believe was something like $54 million, partially funded by the government, mostly funded by private donations.
Yeah.
And now it's just finally happened. How has the reception been, and do you still feel like you're just getting going, having been since last August? Like it's been less than a year. So do you feel like you're still just starting up, or are people still just starting to hear about it, or are you kind of past that?
I think it's a process. I think we've had a lot of media, we've had a lot of coverage about our center, so a lot of people have learned about who we are. So it's been keeping me, I know, very busy. But we still have a ways to go. So we still need to educate people. We still need to get out there and help and support. So, but yeah.
And how has it been having the adult center? Is that still something that's growing, or was it already in place in a different location and is now just moved to you, or how is that going?
Yeah, so we did have classrooms for the past few years for the adults in another center. So now they're with us. So that's kind of cool to do that. So that's a department that's growing. It's sort of new for us. So we're still figuring that out. And yeah, so that one will grow quite a bit in the next few years.
And are the adults that come, are they employed, or some of them aren't employed? Are they coming because they're looking for employment, or is it like what kind of programming is it for the adults?
So that's through a partnership with the school board, English Montreal. So it's really education based. So it's less work. I mean, it's teaching work skills, but it really is an adult education department.
Okay. And does that mean it's only offered in the English language?
No, so in Quebec, when you're in adult ed, you don't have to belong to a certain school board to go to a center, nor is it limited to language either. So the folks up in our adult ed, we have both English speaking and French speaking individuals. And they don't have to come from Giant Steps either. Like I said, they can apply from anywhere to come there. So.
Okay, okay. And I know in our last podcast you talked about having a research center where um, it was going to be focused more on how to do research that will improve the quality of education and life for the students. And now the center is open. How is that going, and what partnerships are being formed? Is it with McGill University? Is it with a few places? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so it's mainly through McGill and what's called TAC. Don't ask me what TAC stands for. I forget what it stands for. But it literally has, say 100 different researchers in that. So they could possibly, so what they do is they apply if they are interested in doing research with us, and then there's a team that will read their file and decide if we accept it or not. That said, I mean, we do accept researchers from all the major universities within Montreal. So if they want to do research here, they're more than welcome. And like you said, it's really, we don't want sort of high-end research. We really want research that's going to be helping our staff in their ability to help and support our students here.
So what was the process like for the students moving from their old school? Now, I assume you talked about it, had social stories, etc., and now they're in this new center.
Yeah. So yeah, lots of social stories, lots of calendars to count it down. Our neighbor next door allowed us to put a live camera on their balcony, so we had live feeds, so we could actually watch the building as it was being built. And then in the summertime, we had several days where the building was open, so families could actually come and visit with their child just to get a feel for it and everything. And then we always recommended to families, drive by, go for a walk in the neighborhood, walk around, show the kids, this is going to be your new school and everything. And, as much as we think sometimes autistic people are very rigid and not very flexible, I mean, our students really didn't have any difficulty making the switch over to this new building. And I mean, it's tailor-made for them and everything, right? So, yeah.
And can you talk about the input that you had from autistic self-advocates?
Well, yeah, that's a big part of Giant Steps, that we try as much as possible to always include the autistic voice in anything we do, any training, any workshop, any project and everything. So I've given several tours of the new center, and several with autistic individuals. And, there's things that I look around and go, maybe that wasn't the best choice, but they all love it. They really love the center, and find that we really did a great job of thinking about everything. So, but they
Awesome.
were part of that process too, right? So
And so, again, we talked about it last year, but your school uses a developmental approach, and you take input from different approaches, and one of those approaches is DI, or floor time. And so we're fortunate to have Richard Perret, who is one of the educators at your school, and he has training in floor time, and he's going to tell us a little bit about how floor time is incorporated at Giant Steps. Okay, I'm here at Giant Steps with Richard Perret, who is an educator, and he is working on floor time with a group of students doing a mini study. Why don't you tell us about what's happening?
It's been a wonderful journey so far. I've been doing kind of a pilot project with one class, picking 5 students, and seeing how we can implement floor time into the school environment. So I do one-on-one sessions, 45-minute periods, once a week with each student. I work on the behavior success team, so it's part of our prevention approach, right? So we want to get in there and work with the students and figure out what's going on. We take the DIR philosophy and we try to figure out what's like, if a student is experiencing some sort of difficulty, we contact the parents right away. We have a really big specific protocol on how to assess where they're at and figure out what's going on inside them, what's going on at home. Is there certain things that can causing them to be having a harder time? So here we want to kind of I want to get in there and develop a relationship, share everything that I've learned, and communicate with the team. So we've really got to get that floor time DIR perspective and try to get that implemented as well in the classroom. So it's not just with me, only me, right? So the things that I have in here are kind of based on the interests of the children, communicating with the team, with the families. I wanted to meet them where they're at, follow their lead, and I got a bunch of things that kind of would be able to get on the floor with them, develop that relationship with them, and scaffold from there. So usually when I come in, kind of set up here, I do a lot of DR and floor time kind of teach us the importance of reflective practice and videotaping sessions. So I try to do that as much as possible when we're in this room because I was lucky enough to get the permission from the families to videotape and share it with the school and their classroom team, number one, but also all the staff members of Giant Steps for professional development, so I can kind of meet with people and do workshops on floor time and talk about what I'm doing and hear why I'm doing it and why we should be doing it more in the classroom. I got this mat because it's kind of like an area the students love to go to, the window. Sometimes I bring in a trampoline, I bring in kind of things for an obstacle course to kind of get that that feedback and to include to work on their individual differences and what they might be needing in that moment, which has been incredible. And you know, it's not only this room, but it's also in the hallway because there's a couple things the students love to do in the hallway. There's big windows, there's a kind of like a reading nook, and there's one student in particular that I really bonded the first session. He kind of had that gleam in his eye and he was like, oh, we had that attunement. And he was like, you get me, you're with me, we're playing, right? You understand me. And it was special because he was running around and jumping off the reading nook onto his knees and sliding. So he really needed to get that proprioceptive feedback. And at first, that just jointed my copied him, right? And then he kind of looked back at me and he was like, wait a minute, you're doing it with me? And then as soon as I started to get the attunement, the back and forth, and we had a solid regulation, we're having lots of circles of communications, looking at me, laughing, right? And then he brought my hand and brought me up onto it. We ran around, right? So then I went to really having constant circles of communication, and then I kind of went before him to see what would happen. And then he kind of twisted my body so I'd go behind him, and then he said, come. And then all sorts of, he's a student that doesn't always feel comfortable communicating verbally. And in this session, I really started coming more verbal, like talking to me, wanting me to come and run, wanting me to jump. At the end, I was at the edge, waiting for that anticipation, the communication, and then he got excited, he says, jump. So even that was just incredible to have that moment with him.
You made him comfortable enough where he was comfortable initiating, which is what we see once the circles of communication get flowing. They start their initiation, and then you can start to work into the fourth capacity.
Yes. We go in the schoolyard, we go in different environments that's going to really set up success for our sessions and for them. So I have like a sensory bin here. I've gotten lots and lots of fun back and forth with these guys when they fall, and then we do problem solving and where to look, and sometimes it falls underneath the tables, and then we have to go, where are they? So then we really get we're problem solving together and trying to figure it out. You can put it high, crash. So we have lots of fun with that. And we have these little beads for the windows. I have different activities for the windows.
Oh, my son loved those squigs.
The squigs, yeah.
And this glow racetrack he also loved. That was a favorite of his too.
This is fun because we can go and the students could reach here for the blinds. So we try to get rid of all the light possible so we can really have fun. And sometimes, I put in a little bit of a playful obstruction and take the batteries out and see, whoa, what are you going to do today about that, right? It's a lot of fun. And of course, we have sensory play. We have the bubbles, I have balloons, right? Because for a lot of our students, it's hard really understanding the concept of blowing. So if the student really wants me to blow it, we're creating back and forth communication, having to think, I want this balloon to be blown up and tied. How can I communicate that? So sometimes the student will take the balloon, bring it to me, and sometimes the student, depending on the communication, verbally ask for it, sign. One student is signing. I try to implement as much as possible the AAC. If a student does have an iPad, we at Giant Steps, we've implemented a program to really dedicate using AAC, use a TD Snap, and we have given, a lot of students have been able to get iPads from grants, donations, and that's just been really incredible. We have Richard Kirkhoven who goes into each classroom and does workshops to teach the classes how to implement it alongside the speech department. And even that we've seen such an incredible outcome from that, just in communication wise and behaviors. We've seen a down tick because, as you know, communication is a huge factor in being humans. So when we can't communicate our wants and needs or desires, what's happening, we don't understand what's going on in our body, we can't ask for help, it's frustrating, and it can cause someone to be quite explosive. So I try to bring in the AAC as much as possible, and not we're at a lot of these students, because they're younger and they're newer to AAC. I'm not necessarily wanting them, I'm just modeling. So we're just communicating, I'm modeling, trying to throw in words here and there, and not asking them to communicate with me with the AAC, because that's not the goal right now. The goal is for them just to get familiar with it, to see its useful tool to communicate. So now looking forward with my self-reflection practice and the floor time pilot project, the goal really is to see how the best way to implement floor time, because floor time is, the sessions are very important and useful and rewarding for not only the students, not only the staff, but as we know, the family system as well. So looking and reflecting on that, and also communicating and sharing with the school. So I've met with some people, I've met with classrooms. The goal is to do a little bit more workshops as we go on, taking everything that I'm learning from this and learning from the students to really kind of fine tune our approach and be able to kind of work with all the students in the school. Being one-on-one in a school environment is tricky and can be kind of complicated, and so the goal really is to kind of be creative and think outside the box to give floor time and have it be more apparent in the school system, because I see it on a day-to-day basis already. We have that mentality, we have that philosophy. It's just kind of fine-tuning our approach and thinking about how we're interacting and how we're setting up an environment and meeting the needs of each student. And to have that thought process, I think a big learning experience for me and the DIR world is just really thinking about what we're saying, what we're doing, how we're presenting ourselves, and self-reflection, right? Because we have to be thinking of where we're at, how we are feeling, how's our body feeling, how's our head feeling, and being able to kind of attune to the students and think about all the responsibilities and everything else we've forgot to do, and we have 10 emails to send and things to organize, and sick kids at home or whatnot, and really learning to put it aside to be 100% attuned to the students, because I have seen a big difference in sessions and days when I am conscious of myself, I'm conscious of how I'm feeling and what's going on in my life, and then being able to acknowledge it, put it aside, and be there for the students. It's very noticeable. When you're inside your head, you're not there with the students, you're not there with the staff, you're not on the floor, you're somewhere else. So it's important to kind of do a lot of self-reflection and be better. And this is just an environment that I fall in love with every day more and more. It's an amazing school, amazing staff, good people, good students. It's just constant progression, and a lot of their needs are kind of being met. It's a lot more spacious. We have a gymnasium, which is incredible. We didn't have that before. So like days like yesterday, it's very cold in Montreal. So this year we had to have indoor recess. And that doesn't mean just staying in the classroom anymore. That means that we have a gymnasium and we can have fun and run around and get that energy out, right? So we're more prepared to learn in the classroom afterwards. And we have big hallways where the kids can do activities, and we could do learning and movement and adaptive learning on the walls and all sorts of things, right? So it's definitely an environment fitted for our students and our clientele, and we have sensory rooms on each floor. The sensory room, the occupational therapy room is just, as you saw this morning, it's a beautiful, beautiful room. It's been a really great year.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this information with us about how you incorporate floor time at Giant Steps. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Marla, for letting us take a peek at the new Giant Steps Centre in Montreal. It's an incredible facility. Thank you so much to all of the funders who helped make this happen. It's just such an incredible community that you guys have to keep this center going, and all of the different programs you have working for inclusion for autistic individuals in the province. And it's just amazing. Thank you for the picture tour and for the updates. I've just pulled up the website, giantstepsmontreal.com. If you go under the link at the top, Resource and Training Center, contact us. You can get a hold of Marla, and you can browse the website for the rest of the information. You'll see that they have auctions that they use for fundraising, and it's just an incredible place. Thank you so much, Marla.
You're very welcome. My pleasure.
Have you submitted your proposal yet for the 2024 International DIR Floor Time Conference this October live online? A unique 10-day experience, a must for all floor timers. You can find out more details at icdl.com/conferences. Until next time, here's to choosing play and experiencing joy every day.